This video is going to show you a solo Grandmaster Nightfall getting Platinum rank for the Corrupted and explaining how to easily do this solo for the Triumph, for the Conqueror Triumph sale. Also discussing Platinum. This was a gold rating solo though, just to forewarn you, but on paper technically in my mind it's Platinum, but it was a gold rating rank because of something I tested for science with the champions to see if you could do it in a different way and still get Platinum rank, and you can't, which I'll get into when we get to those points. But just for record, I killed the same amount of champions as you would on a Platinum rank run, but the way I went about it was slightly different, which I'm going to explain to you now. So when you start Corrupted, the first thing you want to do is kill the Scorn Overload champ, which I just did. Right, then come to the back of the map and kill the Centurion because he keeps doing his void balls, which will get in the way of you killing enemies and stuff. So do those two things first. What I'm going to do next you don't need to do, but I tested for the run. But I don't feel like running Corrupted back at the minute, so I just was okay with the run. But what I'm going to do next you don't need to do. So Corrupted has 20 champions total that spawn, including the extra champ that spawns on this particular phase I'm doing right now here. So there's an overload, right, with acolytes attached to the overload. You can see that right here. If you clear any of the acolytes at all, you get an extra overload. Right now you will see the overload will spawn. That overload extra one will spawn with also a couple more acolytes and a sniper. This is a problem because people are skipping, well, me included, I'm guilty of it. We're all skipping this spawn, right? Which means if the overload has not spawned, he is not counted for Platinum rating because he doesn't exist. The overload will only exist if he spawns for Platinum rating. But what I was trying to do is see if I could kill these two overloads and skip another two overloads later on. It worked out that it won't happen for Platinum rating. So you end up killing more champs. You would end up killing more champs if you're doing it like this. If you kill the two taken unstops that I skip. So what I'm doing right now, it doesn't work. Which, for science, you know, you never know with Corrupted. It's been a buggy mess for Platinum rating for a long time now. Ever since Grandmasters came out, for especially when Corrupted's concerned, because there was that many champions, they actually had to fine-tune and nerf Corrupted over the years to get it so that it's playable. Never used to be really playable. You look up how many solo GMs were done for Corrupted when it first came out. There was only 2 people that actually done it when it first came out. I know who those 2 people were. Just 2 people. That was it. No, that's not to say that there wasn't other people that could. It's just that no one was bothered enough to do it because it was too long of a trek. That was when Corrupted first came out. Nowadays, Corrupted is like it's a B tier GM. It's not that difficult, especially with Solar Restoration this season. So with the elevator section, with our build, we're obviously using an LMG, Polaris Lance, and a Kinetic Pulse Rifle. So with the sounds, you need to keep them in check. Do a healing nade straight away, and then spam machine gun if you're using a machine gun, which I recommend that on a hunter maybe you should, but you don't have to. You could use a rocket launcher if you wanted, but I recommend an LMG for safety. And then we're just going to spam our orbs. Now behind these pillars, the void orb gets confused. Now if you saw that, that was in quick succession. We took 2 phalanxes out really easy with the machine gun. Back and forth, break shield, melt, break shield, melt, and then once you know how to do that little section that I just did there, you do it that quick that there's a low chance of you dying. Because when you're behind the pillar, you've got cover, and the Void Orb may hit you, but it won't one-shot. Especially if you've got the mods, the resist mods that I've got on. Well, it's double arc resist and concussive dampener. It's the concussive dampener that's saving you from death against the Void Orb. Now we're just going to spam Polaris Lance. Pay attention to the elevator, as in where you're standing, because the spawn is the opposite side of where the ghost is scanning. Because some people might get confused. You need to be on this. You need to be at spawn right away. So we'll heal a nade and then LMG with a poor knife. That's fine. And just spam LMG as much as possible to kill all the scions. You got to understand there's a second spawn of scions. There's like 2 of them that spawns, right? Try and kill those when they spawn in with the shield the enemies. I didn't because they spawned behind. We're also going to golden gun here, which we're using this Celestial Nighthawk with the precision super, of course, not the 6-shot. Obviously, I'd be stupid to use 6-shot. And now we're just going to rotate the room and keep popping the shields. Actually, I might have killed all the scions. I might have got lucky with some ignitions and killed them. That was close there. We'll get a healing nade down. That's exactly why we do run healing nade. The biggest danger here is the phalanxes. The shielded phalanxes. You can see they melt because arc burn is on. I believe arc fret's on. Should be. I hope they haven't changed that. I think it is still arc fret. But they melt the most, right? The knight with his solar does melt, but remember they nerfed knights. Last time I done corrupted, I covered the exact same thing. Knights now focus on doing stasis slow, then they do their fire, which is actually quite a cool mechanic to fight against, and they're not annoying. They used to be really annoying to fight against knights. They reduced the area of effect that the solar knights do to you. So the knight's not threatening. That's why I chose to golden gun one of the phalanxes rather than the knight. The knight's not a threat, although the knight's tankier, but it's no big deal. We've got Polaris Lance, which I can talk about a little bit. So in my last solo GM, I used Polaris Lance also. So I was thinking on corrupted, I maybe didn't want to use Polaris, but since I've spammed Wish Ender, a lot of players have spammed Wish Ender, I think it's okay to like do back-to-back Polaris Lance runs here and there. You know, it's a fun meta, so let's do it while it lasts. After this season, it won't be as strong, but it'll be still super strong. I was soloing GMs with Polaris Lance years ago, right? Especially when it was Overload Scout and stuff like that. It's very good when it's Overload Scout. So it's always been good. Polaris Lance is like, I don't know, hello, it's always been good. I don't know where you've all been. Like, it's one of the best single target damage weapons, like for solo play for safety in the game. Just because of the nature of the weapon. And it's just amplified with ignitions and the solar artifact mods and stuff like that. That's why it's like literally a meta option. So the Unstoppable Champion, we were doing ignitions on the Unstoppable. That killed all the ads surrounding the champ. So I didn't want to golden gun that champ. Bear in mind, your golden gun will one-shot a champ. So pick and choose which champs are easy to you. Sorry, the ones that are more difficult to you to kill. So this one, I don't like. This one here, right? So this one, as soon as we get stunned, right? As soon as that happens, we're going to use golden gun on this unstop, because this unstop likes to push me a bit. So I choose to golden gun that one. Make sure you get a kill with the golden gun as well. Then you get a third super back. Right? And then we can work on the second unstop, which likes to push up after the first one is killed. Try and get some ignitions on that champ. If you get successful ignitions with luck on your side, you will actually kill some of the arc shielded knights as well, sometimes. It just depends on how it rolls. Your goal right now is to get another super, because your next super usage is going to be, on my opinion, on one of the streakers. I don't know if I did on this run or not. Actually, I don't think I did. Because this run was slightly quicker than my previous run of this. So generally I like to super the next streaker coming up, because the streaker's just awkward to deal with. This one. But I don't end up doing that, because you can see I haven't quite got my super, so What I do then instead, I'm shooting the wrong Shrieker here, I think. I like to come here and then deal with the Shrieker from a range, because these Shriekers melt, right? You can sort of peek shoot them and build up your Polaris Lance perk, which doesn't have to be shot immediately. You can do things where you shoot one target and then get that ignition shot on something else. You can sort of proc it like that and play smart with it. So I'm just closing and opening the Shrieker over and over, right? That's the deal. So that's that dealt with. Any Knights, we'll try and deal with them now if we can, because they'll bother us later when we try and deal with the last Shrieker. It's just nice to take them out from range. This Shrieker, what I like to do is open and close and then come behind cover. Don't try and melt down the Shrieker from 100%. You're not going to be able to melt in time unless you use a super. The thing is now, it's too close to the next section to use a super. We do want our super for the unstoppable champions, because there's 3 coming up. So let's talk about platinum rating a little bit more. So, as I said, total, there's 20 champions. Technically, if you spawn in every enemy, there's 20 champions in this. However, for a long time now, if you skip only one champ, you will still get platinum rating. It's like a free ticket, right? So you could technically kill 19 champs. Well, sorry, no. Technically 18 champs and get platinum rating because you skip not only one champ, but 2 technically. But what you're doing is, at the very start, is you're stopping a champ from spawning in, right? So this run, I killed 18 champions, which is the standard for any other platinum rank run, but I get gold. So that, I feel as though, is a little unfair. So what I think they need to do with platinum rating is give an in-game description of what platinum rating is and what it means to the player to achieve platinum rating. Give us a countdown number on the side of the screen. So you see revives 10. It should also say champions left to kill. Give us a number. And then once you get your maximum amount of champions killed, it will say on the bottom right hand side, platinum rank achieved. Then you just complete the run and you get platinum rank rewards. And then, hey, great. So just give us a countdown number for champions killed. That is it. If you ask me, they need to rework the whole thing in terms of what platinum rank means anyways. Like, I think score needs to come back. We need strike scoring to make a return. Even for GMs as well, because now you can start to play GMs a little quicker than what we used to be able to. You're seeing more people starting to develop speedrun strats and beat like solo GMs in like 20 minutes and 10 minutes and depending on what GM it is. So that's what I think they need to do. They need to rework platinum rank. It should be a combination of score plus champs killed. That's what I think they need to do. But whether they do it, I don't know. We'll see for final shape. But they should be making some changes, just because it's nice to freshen it up. Like, we've had this GM activity for quite a while now, and it has saved the game a little bit for endgame. But after time, people may start to stop gilding their Conqueror, because players who are long term will start to think, well, what's the point? Like, I've played every GM in the game. If I re-guild my Conqueror, what's the difference? The difference is the sandbox is changed, and it might be funner or not as fun, depending on what season you play. But literally, that's the only added benefit. So what I'm doing here, I'm using a mini exploit where you can stop the teleportation between the Ogre rooms. This is handy to kill the Hive unstop, because what happens is, every time you get ported back and forth from Hive to Taken Realm, the Hive unstop, or any unstops, I suppose, will spawn at the back of the map. And then you've got to wait for the unstop to come to you. While you're waiting, the boss is like hitting you. This is a problem to try and... It becomes a game of find the champion. And it's the same for the Turken realm. It's actually worse because there's two of them, and they're surrounded by. They're very small. So they're not like a hive ogre, of course, and they sort of hide behind the Taken knights and stuff. It's to note that Polaris Lance doesn't have unstoppable. There is no unstoppable scout, but ignitions do stop champs. But there's some details about that. The problem, the weakness with Polaris Lance is, if you're gonna try and fight an unstoppable champion with no unstoppable mod in your loadout, you need a long runway. The gap between you and the unstoppable needs to be like a good distance, so that you can keep stun locking them without them getting too close. This is a problem for the Taken champs because they'll get stuck on other enemies, they'll spawn at the back of the map, stuff like that, and baiting them can be quite difficult. I'm not saying that you can't do it, and you can. I've seen other people's runs. They've demonstrated how you can sort of get in a good spot on the left hand side and kill those two Taken unstops. But in this run, I didn't even bother with it because I was wanting to see for science if you could skip them. The answer is you can't. But I believe you can skip one of them. So maybe if you can get a stun on one of them, golden gun one of them, and then just kill the boss, you can do that as long as you've killed the two first overlords at the start of the GM, like what I did. The better option might be for people Taikus, because Taikus, whilst it's not as strong, it's got unstoppable bow, right? So that means the champ will be stopped. Like, look at this. I stopped that champ there with the ignition. He still shot me. It's because ignitions aren't a super reliable way of stopping champions, right? Well, they are reliable. They are and they aren't. On one hand, you've got this super OP scout that can deal massive damage from range, but when you're up close, you need to bridge the distance between you and the champ. You've got to be careful about and make sure you hit your crits. You don't get that ignition shot, and that champ's 10 meters within your distance. You better duck out of that blast, because you're going to get melted. So it's not a problem until, I think, to the final unstop in this, which can be an issue depending on what happens to, like with the spawns and stuff. But you can see it's OP, it's just you need to play from distance, right? It's not reliable up close. So if you want to try Taikus out, which Taikus is really strong, I've always been an advocate of using Taikus, and it's unstoppable bow, which unstoppable bow and unstoppable hand cannon are performing poor, but at least it's a legitimate stun. You're getting a legit stun. Your run will be probably a little longer because Taikus isn't putting out the same damage. But it's not going to be that much longer, maybe 5-10 minutes. I'm sure you've got 10 minutes to spare in your day. So if you want to use Taikus, I would say that you probably can, because that's a legitimate way of stunning these champs. And that way you won't have to worry about, if a Taken unstop gets a little too close, then that's fine. You've got a legitimate way of stunning them, other than relying only on ignitions. So from here on out, we're not going to skip any other champs. Like I say, it's only the two Taken unstops we did kill. For the legit platinum run, if you want to do it, just do it like what everyone else has done. Only kill the one Scorn Overload, skip the first two Overload champs outside section, and then kill every other champ in this, and you will get platinum rating, which is the same number as what I did, which is 18. Right? So I killed 18 champs. Right? A platinum run is 18, which you could tell I'm a little bit annoyed about it, but that's the number, the amount of champs that you need to kill. But if you do spawn in that first Overload by accident, sorry, the second Overload at the starting section, you need to kill him, because then he's just counted for platinum rating. So you need to kill him. That's the rule. If a champ spawns, right, like that, that's linked to an additional spawn, then you must kill that champ. And there's so many instances in a lot of GMs where this happens. So for our kinetic weapon, we're using Chatron Bone from Last Wish, which I found out all the Last Wish weapons last season, I believe. But there was a reason why I farmed this one in particular, because it's got a very good roll, right, which is Kinetic Tremors, Rapid Hit. You can get kill clip on it, but seriously, like, why would you want kill clip with Tremors? Like, you're not gonna do much benefit from that. All right, so don't worry about that. That's like more PvP focused shenanigans. You don't need kill clip. What you need is a really good reload. So rapid hit, kinetic tremors. That's all you need. That's when you're crafting it. There is the other pulse rifle which I've recommended. I made a pulse rifle video at the start of the season. And what did I say? The best pulse rifles are kinetic tremors. What's happened? Look around you. Every solo consists of people using kinetic tremor pulse rifles. Why? Because they're best in slot. Because pulse rifles aren't very good. But if you add kinetic tremors to them, right, now all of a sudden they're decent. Why? Because kinetic tremors is a very, very good single target damage perk that you shouldn't be sleeping on. It's basically explosive payload, but better. Well, yeah. The only thing about it is it doesn't proc on some enemies. Like if a red bar enemy, it won't proc on them. Depends if it's a tanky red bar, because there's actually tanky red bar enemies. But in GMs, it's a good perk. On a planet, which some of you play on, it's not a good perk. So somebody says, oh, Kinetic Tremors, it never procs. Yeah, because the content that you're playing is too easy. And the enemies are dying before Kinetic Tremors can even proc. So Kinetic Tremors is only as good as the enemy is in terms of tankiness. So if the enemy's really tanky, Kinetic Tremors, value of the perk goes up. If the enemy is weak, then the value of Kinetic Tremors goes down. But the question for you is, why are you complaining the Kinetic Tremors isn't good enough if the enemy's already dead? Doesn't matter, right? So that's what I'm saying. Make sure that you value this perk, and especially on a pulse rifle, it's very good with Overload Pulse this season. It's the go-to Overload stun if you're using something like Sunshot or Polaris Lance or like an energy, something like that. A perfect pairing with that weapon is a Kinetic Tremors Pulse, not an auto. Unless it's an exotic auto rifle, then fair enough, like Quicksilver Storm or even Sweet Business. But for the most part, you want to be using Kinetic Tremor Pulse rifles. Or if you use an exotic one like Outbreak, they'll work as well. But the thing about that is you won't get the you won't have an ignition build, solar build. You would do a different build then if that was the case. So this is another inconsistent thing with Corrupted, right? That champ just ran off the map, and I'd be before that also ran off the map. Why is this happening? My theory is that these enemies aren't coded properly on that island, so they don't really understand that that's an island, and that they're trying to shoot me, I guess, and they're falling off the map. Make sure you tag the Overload with a little damage, preferably unstun damage. Don't stun him. If you stun him, the champ is going to stay on the island longer, and then you've got to wait until he falls off, because that champ is quite difficult to deal with to actually kill, unless you used a golden gun, which you could do, because that would one-shot him. So if you're like tired of waiting, just golden gun, because you'll get your golden gun back for when you need it, I suppose. It's up to you really, but that's what the deal is. Make sure you tag. If you don't tag him, you will get gold. There's no way around it, right? So it's an unfair thing. Like on one hand, it's lucky that happens. It means that you get a champ kill for free. But on another hand, if you don't tag and it happens without you knowing, then you lose platinum rank, and that's sort of a bad thing in my opinion, because it's basically it's an unfair thing for the player, especially if they're like, did you, especially in a team run, did you kill that champ or no, he fell off? Which that was happening quite often a few seasons ago, where that champ was just falling off immediately, or one of the ones that I'm coming to was falling off right away. So there was one or two doing it. So that's just what it's like. We'll use a healing nade plus restoration here and machine gun just to take out all the thrall, because there's a chance of death there if if you miss your Polaris lance shots, which you might with these taken sounds when they do their flinch. We're gonna melt the sniper. The sniper, get the sniper out of the way. There's a sniper at the back of the map as well. which I saw him pre-firing me, but then he stopped. We'll get our stun and then golden gun. Right, so we want to spend our golden gun on one of these champs. You may as well, because you get so much super energy from killing champions when you're solo that you may as well spam your golden guns. We do need a golden gun for the boss fight, like near the start, but we're already nearly half super, so we're going to get one back before then anyways. So just make sure you're using plenty of supers. You may as well. Ammo wise, because we're using double primary heavy, plus it's a field prep weapon, which did stack with heavy ammo finders and heavy scavengers and stuff like that. I haven't done tests on it of recent times, but it always used to. A field prep weapon means you can just spam them. That's why you're seeing a lot of people use fixed odds with enhanced field prep and enhanced incandescent. Fixed odds being probably one of the best LMGs in the game now, especially that role, because you can spam it for so long, like the machine gun. You know, you can just go on a rampage with it, especially with restoration. So ammo wise, you're gonna find if you use fixed odds, you won't struggle for ammo too much because of field prep, especially got heavy ammo finders on. And if you've got an exotic primary on, you're going to have lots of heavy ammo. So look, I'm max ammo almost, 50 bullets off. So it holds 400 bullets, this gun. That's without reserves. 396, I believe, which is a lot for this style of machine gun. So that's what, you know, people should be focused on using fixed odds this season. There is avalanche and stuff like that. There's, you know, there's other weapons which they're okay. I know there's a trials one, which is good as well, but the best absolute option for solo builds is fixed odds. This particular season, just the fact that you can craft it and it's got enhanced perks and stuff. And enhanced incandescent does more for you than standard. It's not one of those enhanced perks that doesn't do anything. It actually does add more scorch to enemies and stuff quickly. So it's very good. So we spawn in the enemies. We go back to that back island, right? Then you just take out all the adds with ignitions on Polaris Lance. It deals with them very quickly. Then we're going to throw 2 orbs, right? This used to be 3 or 4 to take down the boss's shield. Why is it only 2 this season? The simple answer is because solo operator. Solo operator is a 15% buff, right? At all times while solo. So this allows you to 2-shot shields for the boss. We'll get the final shield, the final orb throw, then immediately pop super and make sure you get your crit. It's very important that you get your crit. Well, it's not as important on this phase. If you were to body shot, you'd have to clean up the rest of the HP with Polaris from a distance, right? Which is no big deal because the first phase is hard gated. All right. So the first block, so you can see that Sedia's HP is into 4 blocks. As far as I can understand it, because this has been reworked over and over and over, like a couple of times with the way the boss's HP works, due to people one phasing and stuff. Anyways, the first block is hard gated. You can't do any more damage past the first block, the first quarter. However, the second block isn't hard gated, it's more soft gated, which means there's a timer to sort of do a bit more damage than 1 block. You're only meant to do 1 block per phase. But on the second phase, you can do 2 blocks. Because Golden Gun's instant damage, you can do 2 blocks. That will get the boss down to a quarter, right? Which means you're skipping phases later on, which is huge. It's massive. I can't underestimate how good that is. So yeah, first block is hard gated, second block is soft gated, which means you can sort of bypass another extra block of damage if you're quick enough with your damage. This is how teams are doing it as well, to sort of kill her quickly. You can't kill her in this room, I believe, but you can definitely kill her in the next section if one of your teammates brings a supercharged orb, right? But anyways, for solo wise, this allows you to skip a phase at the end if you do it. So We'll throw our 2 orbs. By the way, don't worry about getting Radiant. It won't matter. I know you'll do more damage with Radiant, but by the time you threw your throwing knife, the boss could dodge, and then you might miss your crit. So don't worry about getting Radiant for the additional damage. You're going to do more than enough damage anyways. So throw your final orb, then super. Obviously do it after the rocks have went past for DPS. Throw healing aid if needed, but if you don't need to, just go through the portal. Because there's lots of enemies spawning there, so you've got to be observant. We do 2 blocks of HP, the boss is a quarter left. So that's it. Whereas generally, with any other loadout, you'd have two more blocks of HP to do, which that involves killing solar captains, that involves doing stuff like that. And you don't need to do that on this loadout. That's what makes this loadout the easiest. Providing that you hit your crits with Golden Gun, then it's the easiest loadout to do this with. I suppose as well with Malfeasance as well, to take this loadout a little bit further, Malfeasance would be technically better than Polaris for this, because you could do massive damage with that weapon as well. So you could run Polaris with, you know, whatever you wanted to run in the energy slot. You know, maybe a rocket or a machine gun if you wanted. With the Nighthawk build, you can do it like that. So this section, I'm trying to do damage to the Solar Knight. Because there is still a risk of death here on the first island. The risk is that the Knight catches me with the Solar, and then the Overlord will snipe me, because this Overlord's not a stasis one. So if you've noticed, nearly every Overlord champion that we've faced has been a stasis Overlord, not the sniper one. This one's a sniper one. They're far more threatening than the stasis Overlords. So there is a place to stand, but it is a little risk, because the snipers on the next island where the boss is can snipe you while you're dealing with that. So any damage you can get, any chip damage you can get in right now, will reduce the risk of death. So the Knight's finishable, but the Knight will not push because the Knight's being weakened. So we're going to have to push. It'll come to a point where you have to push, less you're not getting anywhere. You're just wasting time. So we'll whip out the machine gun, melt down the Knight. On the left-hand side is okay cover, but you can still get sniped from the right-hand side. So just be aware of that. So we're just going to spam pulse rifle. This is where a rocket launcher would have been better, because a rocket launcher will instantly dump damage and you'll be able to melt down the Overlord quicker. So there's pros and cons to the rocket versus LMG argument. I would argue for most players it's better to just run an LMG if you're on a solar build. However, with the amount of damage that Overlord rockets are doing to Overlords, you can't shy upon it. So make sure, in certainty, I mean, this is a good opportunity to probably run a rocket, right? Dragon's Breath does a lot of damage to Overlords. But if you run Dragon's Breath, you sacrifice an exotic primary, so there's a con to it. Gallahorn does a lot of damage to them, and it has tracking. Gallahorn's actually putting out nice damage against Overlord champs, so that's another Overlord option for you. But then obviously, you know, you could just run a Tracken rocket with explosive light, even Vorpal if you must match. You know, just whip out any legendary rocket that you like using. I imagine the higher mag rocket options are going to put out good damage to them. The disadvantage to running the rocket is, in situations where you need good ag clear, you won't have it. Right? And if you're using Polaris Lance, which is good ag clear, but up close it isn't. It's not good on Scions, because they move if you miss your crits, etc, etc. It's not the best weapon for that. Like Sunshot's a little bit better, but then Sunshot, you end up sacrificing a lot of range damage that you could have had with Polaris. So I don't recommend Sunshot over Polaris for this particular GM, but there'll be other GMs where Sunshot would do better. Just depends. Try and do as much stun damage as you can to this Unstoppable whilst the Unstoppable reveals himself. Because once the Unstop gets below a third, the Unstop just wants to hide. This is a problem because you're not going to have a lot of room to get your stuns on the Unstop. If you at all miss your ignition shot, there's a chance of the Unstoppable killing you. My opinion, this is the riskiest Unstop in this run. Right? But, fortunately, I've done enough damage to get the champ almost finishable. Which I'm trying to do some more chip damage as well. So you can jump up there and do a bit more. It's RNG where that Unstoppable spawns as well. If you're lucky enough, you can actually kill him and stun lock him. It just depends on your RNG on the spawn and how quick you are getting your crits. But the Unstoppable's easy. The Unstoppable was weak enough just to quickly finish. I don't recommend using a golden gun on it either because you're going to use a golden gun coming up. It would mean that you'd have to wait and farm out a super, which you haven't got time. Like, you're just increasing the risk of death, right? Because this final island bit is where people won't understand how to do it. So it's important because you're on the final phase that you push up to the final island. I know keen players who have watched solos for this will be like, why haven't you stood on the final on the island at the back of the map? Well, you can't because you get a no turn back zone because you're on phase 4. On phase 3 you can do that, but we've skipped phase 3 because we've done extra damage on phase 2. So there's a no turn back zone on that final island. Don't stand there. Phase 3 you can stand there. It's a very strange oddity. I don't know why it's like that. But push up, use the healer nade and machine gun. Clear out all sounds as quickly as possible. The quicker you do this, the better it is. Then just keep doing map rotation. You've only got 2 orbs to throw, and you need 1 super. That is it. You don't need any other ammo. So now you need to bide your time and get your crit. Remember, the boss does the knockback attack to you, so wait out that first, like so. Right? When you're comfortable, break shield, pop super, and patiently wait for your crit. Don't miss it. Because if you miss it, you're then going to have to fight the 2 solo captains. So that will make it easier for you to get your solo GM clear. Hope you enjoy. Thank you.